Welcome back, folks, to another special show here. Once again, I am joined by Svitlana Rozghon. You know her from Atelier Cape Ann, but we also talk all things Ukraine with her as well. Welcome back, Svetlana.
Thank you, Kory, for inviting me again.
And we
Really
have a
nice.
special guest, Oleksandra Kovalchuk, or Kovalchuk, right, Alexandra?
Beautiful pronunciation, by the way.
Now, Svetlana, we know that you are at your home and shop in Salem, Massachusetts, right?
Yes, I'm in Salem. I do continue working with the bridal dresses. That's all I like to do. But this time right now is like several jobs. The same time I have helping nonprofit and working with hot wedding season.
Right. And Alexandra, where are you coming to us from tonight?
From Salem also, ever
Oh,
since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine began, I've affiliated here with my family and the little baby, and we're staying here with my parents who've been residents of Salem for about 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, great. So, well, do you have any idea, Alexandra, when you think you may be able to return home?
I think about it every day, and that's a decision. I go to Ukraine from time to time, every 2-3 months, but I still don't feel strong enough to take my baby there.
Hmm. Oh, and for those of you so new to the conversation, I've known Svetlana for years now, a long time. We've worked together, but we've also had conversations about Ukraine and what is happening there, of course. And you folks have been incredibly helpful in helping the cause here too. So, Svetlana, let's just go over what exactly that is and how people can help once again. I guess a quick update on what's been going on since the last time we spoke.
so I am still continue working with Dobroni England. It's our Ukrainian ladies who is originally from Ukraine, but they in US some period of time, and we are trying to help soldiers in the front line, and we know many friends who is there fighting and try to save our country, and so we buying a lot of medications, tourniquets. Right now, it's like, when people getting injured, new soldiers come and they have to have some medical first aid kits, but not always they have it. And this is why we try to help. And also with clothes as well. So depends on season, we're buying them hats, we're buying them t-shirts, like all that clothes, boots, everything what like we can help. And also we're supporting another engineering projects. So we create, some of our friends created devices to help to find the Russians. And it's just right now just happens in, it's good things. So they detect drones and stuff like that. So we also sponsor that devices to create. So that is great things.
Mm,
But we cannot tell much, it's all
right.
in the process. But we help as much as we can. I am all summer working all days at my shop, and then like weekends we spent in craft shows in different cities. Last weekend we were in Gloucester in Stageford Park. So
Right.
people who visit and see, I saw many friends from Gloucester. So really happy to see everyone who is maybe seeing us now.
Mm.
So
And now this effort obviously has been gone on for a long time now. And not only have you been raising money, but also we have an Amazon wish list here we want to share. So we'll share that as well here, that link. And for the past year plus, people have been buying, like you said, anything from boots to blankets to whatever, medical supplies
yes,
to help folks in Ukraine. And you've literally been part of the effort. Shipping those goods overseas. The way they've been delivered is through, I know, like the Romanian border or through
yes.
Poland as well.
Wherever we can, if somebody going, we try to do as much we can,
Yeah,
that's, and I'm very thankful for everyone who is doing that and volunteering and going to Ukraine or just delivering and just anyway, just even just talking and with open heart to support us. That it's also appreciated a lot.
Right. And you're always updating the wish list in
Yeah,
accordance to the needs of the soldiers at
yeah,
that time, or like you said, to the season. So that's updated now
mhm,
for everyone as well.
yes.
Okay, so now let's explain the relationship, Svetlana, between you and Oleksandra. And then, Oleksandra, you can also introduce yourself and tell us about how you're participating and how you're helping. So right off the bat, did you know each other before all of this happened? And how do you know each other now?
No, we didn't know each other. We met at the museum, Seven Gables, when we create events together. And this is how I found Alexandra. And she's very helpful for us. Go ahead.
It was a series of events hosted by Seven Gables, and my role there was to speak about Ukrainian art, while Seven Gables were seven tickets as part of a fundraising initiative. And this money were collected for Dobro to buy necessary equipment and medical kits for the front lines. And ever since that, of course, it is very valuable to have someone from Ukraine here as part of this community. And that provides a lot of support in this situation.
Hmm. Now, Alexandra, you are from the Odessa Fine Arts Museum, right? And very involved with the museums there. Um, Tell us about your background there and what has been going on in your city. We've heard from Svetlana and what's happening in Dnipro, in the region where her family and friends are. What about you?
So I was the acting director of the Odessa Fine Arts Museum on February 24th when invasion began. And that's when I came here with my family. And then gradually, for about a year, I've been acting director from directing actually from here, doing whatever was possible. At that time, it was very important to fundraise to support people who are working in a museum, as there were huge salary cuts due to everything was channeled to the front line, to medical efforts, etc. So then, in addition to that, as our museum was well established, we had a lot of donors, and we have a pretty young team in the museum of fundraisers, event managers, etc. So at some point we realized that we can help other museums to fundraise to make their collections safer. And that's how we started an initiative, Museum for Change. And right now we're partners of UNESCO, of International Alliance for Protection of Cultural Heritage, and the Cultural Emergency Response, different international organizations who specialize particularly in protection of cultural heritage in such situations as war. And according to all of the conference I've attended recently, this field is growing. Every year there is more and more demand due to wars, military conflicts, weather, extreme weather, climate change, etc. So now we are part of that community, and we have a lot of expertise to share on how to protect cultural heritage in different situations.
And it's important to note that Odessa is an extremely important port city on the Black Sea. And Svetlana, I remember we talked about this more than a year ago, how we sort of knew it was going to be specifically targeted by the Russians. And so, Alexandra, can you explain to us what has actually happened in Odessa and why you needed to leave?
Well, at the beginning, there was a big risk of fast occupation. It was still there. And if you remember, even here on the news, it was 3 days that Ukraine will last for 3 days, and that's it. Well, but ever since there was a international grain treaty between Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine and European Union, there was a path for the ships loaded with grains that would go from Odessa port to Africa, basically, and some other countries. And because of this grain deal, Odessa was not shelled for a very, very long time. But as soon as Russia terminated this deal, next day they've started shelling port. but as their weapons, they have a lot of weapons, they have a lot of missiles, but they are shitty. Well, let's say they're not always very exact in their calculations. So they've been shelling port for, I think, 3 days, and then one night there was kind of nothing, and then another 2 nights. And it was happening every night. And first they hit some grain terminals in the port. And this is, can you imagine just how insane that is? They're targeting grain, they're targeting oil, like sunflower oil terminal that that exploded on the first night they started shelling the port. And then in next days there was a beans terminal, and then something else. That's not even close a military target. That's just Russia trying to provoke another hunger in the world. And it was for the first time that this missile was targeting the port, which is in the very center of Odessa. And the old city center, which is about 200 to 100 years old, buildings, mainly built by European architects who were invited to Odessa. And there were a lot of French architects, Italian architects. That is why if you walk through Odessa, you can feel this flavor of France, of Paris a little bit in some places. And during that night, 3 buildings that were nearly destroyed around where I live were 4 blocks away, exactly 4 blocks away from my apartment. And my apartment is also, let's say, also above the port. All of the city center is above the port. And it was very scary. And I was texting my family here as it was still evening in here. I was sitting in the hallway of my apartment and just texting them that I love them, that I'm scared, etc. It's extremely stressful, and I thought that I will just die from stress at that moment, that my heart will stop beating. And it was happening every night, almost every night.
And then, Oleksandra, so then you mentioned it being a cultural center as all, in the middle of it all. And it almost seems like museums were specifically targeted as well, or they always go for the cultural centers, right?
I think that they were targeting museums in the beginning, in first 4 or 5 months, but then maybe they've changed their mind because it became harmful to their image, and it was harder to explain, or to explain to the international community what they're explaining to Russian people, like saying that we've targeted a military base, or like this building was not a theater, but there were Ukrainian Nazis inside, etc. They keep saying that to Russian population, and they believe that every time. In this case with Odessa, I still believe that it's the miscalculation of their missiles. And because they've hit a church that was, and it's an interesting thing that this church was originally built a long time ago, about 120 years ago. Then it was exploded and destroyed by communists in 1922, I believe, or I think in 1922, maybe a little bit later. But then after Ukraine became independent and Soviet Union ceased to exist, actually Russian money and money of local people were invested to rebuild this church. And it was opened by the Patriarch of Orthodox Church, Kirill, who is now supporting Putin in this war and saying that dying for your country is good for God, and God you will be the best person for God if you die for your country, and it's good to die for your country. So this same person was opening, and the day of the opening of this church was in Odessa, and he blessed this church. He made the first service in this church, and then this church is destroyed by Russian missile. So I don't think that they could target their kind of church, and it was a church of Moscow Orthodox Church in Ukraine. We have a problem with that actually, because they are working with the FSB, etc. But I don't think that it was on purpose. And they've actually hit and damaged the 8 museums. Because in Odessa, like in every city, when you have the view, it's the best, the most prestigious place in the city with the view. So all of the museums in Odessa are located above port to have this view of both port and the sea. So all of the museums were impacted with blast waves. And one building, one museum was severely damaged. I have sent some pictures and you can see that for yourself. And it is still in a very vulnerable position, and it gets worse. So we're trying right now to stabilize it with the international community, with different international organizations.
This almost sounds similar, Svitlana, to what we heard about the power plant and the hydroelectric plant too some months ago as well, right? We were getting one story, then something completely different was actually happening. So Svitlana, what has been going on back where your family is from? What have the changes been in, say, the 6 months or so since we've last spoken?
So after that, the school where my mom studied was damaged. My mom was here, and they targeted, I don't know what they targeted, but it was one child died and 20 probably plus people injured in Dnipro area. It's not exactly Dnipro, just near in that location. And this is the shop, grocery store where my mom worked before, destroyed it. And she knows, I was there many times, I know what this place, that it was really hard to see, when people, and right away in the chat, people asking help for that people who is injured. And I'm see that also because I'm on the chat as well, looking for the information. And first, of course, I check in my relatives, are you alive, guys? How it's going on and everything. Are you hope not there? So all this, like all the time, like when you have distance and, you try to contact right away and see. So many places damaged in Dnipro also, and it's still big chance for that nuclear power plant. But, I hope it will be still people with clear mind to realize that it's not just damage in Ukraine, that damage in all Europe, and that nuclear power plant will be protected as much as, I don't know. I just don't want to be any damaged for in general world also, not just for like Ukraine. It's, we need a lot of help because of the like to save our country, but Russians don't think just about Ukraine. They want damage everything around, that it's like Oleksandra said, they try to just go too far as much possible to Europe. It's Odessa was on the way, Dnipro on the way, everyone on the way, and they telling one thing and doing different.
How often, this is for both of you, are Ukrainians hearing from Zelensky? Are you getting daily updates on what's going on? Are you getting any sort of progress reports at all?
He's announcing all the time what is going on, what is damaged, and how reaction of the people abroad, and like what is going on. It's hard for us to tell because we are not Zelensky.
Oh, every night he gives an update on what happened during this day, what the government managed to achieve, the main good things or bad things that happened on front lines, wherever is possible to disclose.
So Oleksandra, so now I usually ask Svitlana this, and I'll follow up with her as well, but what has been the attitude of friends and family and the people of Odessa after this has happened to pick up the pieces and restore things or try to go on with everyday life?
Of course, everybody go on with their own life, actually what people were doing for the next couple of days was cleaning. you could see a lot of videos of people sweeping and taking away rubbles and trying to help to those whose apartments were damaged, etc. So it was the first thing that everybody wanted to do, to participate, to do something physically to help others. So there was a very nice feeling of unity. Right now we're working on conservation of these buildings, and people in Odessa, just after each attack, they hate Russians more and more. There is nothing else that could happen after that. People hate them even more every day. And the recent thing that last week was damaged, that was actually a bit ridiculous, and everybody are still, even considering the circumstances, how terrible it is, but there is a lot of humor around that, because they've destroyed a big grocery store, one of the biggest grocery stores, like, like Costco, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they've completely destroyed it, and they've reported that the warehouse of naval drones was destroyed. And everybody, all of my friends were posting, oh yeah, yesterday I bought a pineapple there, I bought a tomato and the naval drone, and I bought some other armors together with my picos, etc. And it was happening all day. But at the same time, this grocery store was the first one that was open in Odessa after Ukraine gained independence. It was the first American-style grocery store. And for all of us, all people who've grown up at that time, it was a life-changing experience. It was something unusual, and every time we would go there, we would feel like this is a festival. It was festive. And that's part of our collective memory that is also destroyed together with the grocery store.
Interesting. And so, Svetlana, so with your friends and family, I always ask this too. The feeling now, so here's one worry now, because it's been going on for a while, is folks outside of the area who aren't directly connected to this conflict at all. It's fatigue starts to happen, right? Because there's so many other things going on in the world, and you hear about this and this and this and this, and then you worry that you might lose some people along the way. So how do we deal with that? And how are your friends and family back home? Has their attitude changed at all? We've learned one thing about Ukrainians: it's your resolve, and you dig in your heels. And when every time something like this happens, you get almost more and more stubborn about what the response will be, and like you're going to stand your ground no matter what. So is that still the attitude from what you're seeing?
So my mom has luggage and stay near her bed, and she's ready to go any moment, coming back. She is not going to stay here. And she's like, it's very good here, but she is all her mind with her friends in Ukraine, and she's like 100% said, I'm not going to be stay here. She is like that. She made a decision a long time ago. And my another relatives was abroad and come back to Ukraine, so they don't want to go anywhere because they volunteered for us. Some of my friends in the front lines, and they like all the time with us talking, and we send in like someone recently we sent boots, some tourniquets, some medication, first aid kits. So we know, like, again, I have a friend, for example, in the front line, but if there are 10 people and I will send just one things for my friend, it's kind of, we're trying to buy for all of them, asking like sizes of the boots and like what they need. They need hats, and then this is how we try to support them and at least feel more comfortable to sit there and like to feel our support on that way as well.
I think what is changing is that Ukrainians right now in the society, that Ukrainians hate Russians more and more. That is what is changing. And it's not like we're getting tired, so let's concede some territory. No, nothing like that. We have we have just, it's complicated for people to sustain this level of stress for such a long time. And it is very important for how to react in this situation of being tired of this topic, is to be mature, it's to be conscious, it's to be a grown-up, and to understand that when there is something that is not interesting but your existence depends on it, you just have to continue helping. That's the mature thing, that's the conscious thing to do. And even for me, it's not like my choice here is to go to Ukraine while there is a war, or to have another life here in the United States. I don't think that we will have a life in the United States if Ukraine will not survive as a country in this battle. I don't think that there will be United States. And you see how much this country is penetrated by Russian propaganda, by Russian special forces, etc. So I think that it is important to remember what is at the stake here. It's more than just Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. So Svitlana, we'll keep showing the links for people who want to help. Are there specific things that you're looking for right now that the soldiers need?
Tourniquets and first aid kits, like even cream for the burn, like Neosporin, some just band-aids, simple things what really will help. And the tourniquets probably one is number one right now, because many places they asking us.
Okay.
Yes, one of the main reasons for people to die in the combat is the loss of blood. And that is why sometimes every soldier needs at least, they recommend to have at least 6 tourniquets, which is about $500 for one person to have. And they keep losing those during the battles, during the combats, they lose those, and they need constantly to substitute, etc., etc. So that's what I hear also from all of my friends who are there. Tourniquets are a great need.
Gotcha. Okay, we're almost out of time. So Oleksandra and Svitlana, I'll ask you both this. What do you want the viewers to take away from this conversation tonight? I mean, we know they can help directly, but what would you like them to know about the situation in Ukraine as it stands today? I'll start with you, Oleksandra.
I think that most important for me to say that Ukraine is important, and it is important to continue helping, because if they feel this, they've already smelled the blood, you know, they've smelled the blood. If they have the victory, they will not stop ever. And it's not like they're going to invade the United States, no, but they will affect the United States in other ways, and other countries too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the same is just to be a human, you know. If it's will be no help, it will be no Ukrainians at all, you know. It will be that it's important part. I just cannot even imagine if like cannot be different way, you know. And people will all the time, I know what I see from Ukrainians, they will not stop and to fight. They will die, but they will be fighting.
Mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate your time. Oleksandra and Svitlana, I do want to continue the conversation sometime down the road. You know, we hope we don't have to have too many more of these conversations, but we do appreciate what's going on. We hope your friends and family back home stay safe and healthy, and that this gets resolved one way or another sooner than later. So again, we'll have those links up, folks, so you can help out directly. And again, we want to thank Oleksandra Kovalchuk and Svitlana Rozghon for the conversation today. Be safe, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Kory. Thank you.